The Apalachicola River is undammed and largely wild, flowing through the heart of one of the nation's 6 hotspots of biodiversity. However, the bay of this river is suffering from a large decrease in freshwater flow. The water that inevitably becomes the Apalachicola River has its roots just north of Atlanta, eventually making its way further south where it becomes the Chattahoochee and Flint rivers. Following its path along the Georgia-Alabama border, the water is consistently halted by the Jim Woodruff Dam in Lake Seminole. Once the fresh water is released, it travels 107 miles south to the Apalachicola Bay. Here, an estuary is dependent upon the mixing of fresh water from the river and the salt water from the Gulf of Mexico.
In 2012, the food chain essentially collapsed in Apalachicola Bay. We had droughts that were so much longer than the normal droughts because of all the water use upstream that essentially the phytoplankton population crashed, so it just worked its way right up the food chain.
Without the correct amounts of fresh water, the organisms at the bottom of the food chain begin to dwindle, causing a domino effect on all other species, including humans.
Beekeeping got to the point, and it has gotten to the point where it's just hard to keep them alive. You can't really, you can't make a living at it anymore like you used to. I feel like there's something to do with the river. It's definitely affected it. We haven't had a crop of tupelo in the last 20 years that's been anything like it was when I was a kid.
We didn't realize how good we had it. You got to respect what you have and just be respectful of those that's trying to make a living in the industry.
As this problem becomes more and more severe for the folks living in Florida, legal action becomes necessary. Florida has sued the state of Georgia, and after an unsatisfactory judge ruling, they are left with no choice but to pursue further litigation.
Florida is suing the state of Georgia because it's overusing its water resources.
Now, the water is flowing down south into the state of Florida. And with all 3 states having a stake in this river, it's leading to a war over water.
The way the water is managed up in Georgia and Alabama has a huge effect on how much water we get down here. If we don't get the fresh water, we'll have just a repeat of the collapse of the bed over and over again to a point where it just can't recover.
Then when everything's dry and you get much rainfall, they close all the locks and we don't get any water at all down here.
The Apalachicola is a river system that can never be rebuilt or replanted. Nature's whims are problems enough, but the hand of man makes it much worse.